I love tedium. It's really weird to be able to say that, but I love tedium. I love Animal Crossing. I love Harvest Moon. I love games where you don't actually accomplish anything unless you put a year's worth of work into it. It's really strange, but I get a lot out of the editing process, and it's kind of cool because when I started, I was using Windows Movie Maker, which I wouldn't recommend unless you were just starting out and you were just trying to see if you enjoyed it. Then I moved on to another program, then I moved on to another program, then I moved on to Sony Vegas. And I kind of, the way that my technique is that I don't have a technique. I kind of fail upwards because I figure out what doesn't work and then I just go with whatever is left to me. Everything's gone wrong and then I'm left with what can only be the right way to do it. So you can kind of see that if you watch my series. You'll see you were terrible at first, then you weren't as bad, and now you're kind of okay. So.
And I like that way that failing upwards. I think it's a very legit way of putting it. That you're not going to start off fantastic. You do. But yeah, I mean, I'd say maybe the one other thing I'll say about it is that I realized is that try starting off small. Start small with a small project. Because I realized I started off with the 5-second movies, and I grew from there. And I was just sort of, when you do so many of them in a row, you pick up stuff and say, oh, maybe I can try this. I'm going to do it this way. I think I put the sound here. Can I slow this down? Can I speed that up? So that'd probably be a good thing to do too. Do a bunch of small projects first, and that way you can have a lot of them built up behind your belt. So yeah, there you go. So another question is, use.
I got two hopefully short things. Just first of all, I know in both of your cases that your success has spawned a number of memes and a number of imitators. Like I know there's a whole bunch of other abridged series, and I imagine you don't do them all. And
sleep on! He's a busy man!
And look, yeah, but you gotta sleep sometime.
Team 4 Star doesn't exist!
And I've seen attempts at imitator nostalgia critics. Oh God. I was just wondering, to what extent does that flatter and to what extent does that annoy you? Either, the fact that you're being imitated, but sometimes not very well.
For me, it hasn't gotten to quite the annoyance yet. I'm still in the flatter stage, I guess.
Well, we're both imitating each other. I mean, we both have beards, glasses. So.
Yeah, that I have something. Yeah, I don't know. I guess I will say this: when you see everybody trying to do it, it's sort of at a point where. And you see people start catching on to your shtick and stuff like that. You just sort of say, okay, I gotta change this up a bit. I gotta do this a little differently. That's why stuff like the Moulin Rouge review or the Critic review and stuff like that. I mean, those are essential. You really need stuff like that because you need to keep it fresh. Because you suddenly see people are catching on and they're imitating it, and it's like, well, okay, if all these people can do that, I'm supposed to be offering them something different, something unique, but familiar. So the more you can sort of switch it up, the better. I don't think I've got to quite play it to a point where I find it that annoying. I think it's still like, oh, that's awesome. The fact I could start anything, any of these weird internet memes and stuff like that, it's still pretty cool.
And I take it as a compliment when people try and do an abridged series on their own, because very few of them are literally copying anything that I do. They're just taking the concept that, to be fair, existed long before I did, with making fun of an anime show and dubbing over it. I mean, that sort of thing has been going on since the internet was born, I mean, you have the old G.I. Joe clips with them running around and saying pork chop sandwiches. I mean, I can't really say I invented the idea of redubbing a cartoon or anything like that. But the name Bridge series is something that, I guess I kind of put out there, and if people latch onto that, that's great. I mean, I don't really feel like any of them are trying to be me. Although there was one guy that cosplayed as me at one convention, which was quite horrifying. It's very good.
Another question here. Let's do,
I think he had another.
The only thing was, are you tired of the bat credit card thing yet?
Something I figured out. Somebody asked, "What's your favorite meme and your least favorite meme?" And I said the answer to both is my own. Because on the one hand, every time I go to a con, I know someone's going to say bat credit card. I have to scream, I have to punch him and stuff like that. And whenever I hear it, my eye twitches a little. And it's like, okay, here we go. Bat credit card! I do the shtick and stuff like that. But when I see the reactions from everybody laughing, everybody applauding, I was like, yeah, that's cool. All right, yeah. So it's sort of a mix, but I'm realizing now I can't do it as much anymore because like the past 2 times I went to, when I kept doing that, I kept almost losing my voice. So it is one of those things I'm sort of like, yeah, I may have to stop doing that. I think just doing a big punch or something like that. But I was like, I can't scream anymore because I'm filming more and more at cons and I'm performing more and more. So the more you stretch out the voice, just the more likely you'll be able to do it. So yeah, my thoughts on that. I have the white jacket right there.
All right, Bills. Hi, I'm Jesh.
Hi.
Well, anyhow, I recently started my own online show, which is like a weekly brief anime news highlight show. I started as a New Year's resolution that I need a weekly goal because I started to become really lazy. And I was like, I need to pick myself up. So I did the whole works the first week when I started doing it. I made an opening sequence. I made my first episode in which I just simply picked a few stories from the online about what's been happening in anime, manga, video games every day of the week, including the weekend, and then I give a...
There's a question in here, right?
Well, yeah, there is. I'm just getting to it. I'm playing, and then I learned of how to make the show as it currently is now. I just did my 7th episode last night. It's online, and I get about 20 weekly viewers so far. Hope that goes up. And, well, my mom... Well, God bless her soul. And, well, she's been nagging to me that she won't watch anything that's over 5 minutes on YouTube because so far what I've been doing with the show is that I try to aim to go about 10 minutes at most, but then when I started out, the first episode was about 13 minutes, and that's because I had to explain what the show is about and what am I doing here, what am I doing there.
But we're going to need the clip numbers.
Yeah, and then so I was like thinking... So right now I've got it now down to a perfect formula. It's about 8 minutes to 9 minutes depending on what am I doing. And so do you think that people would care as much if the YouTube video is going to need to be a certain amount of length for them to watch in order to be interested in it?
That's actually a good question. That's fine. That actually is a good question about length of your videos. I mean, what I started off with was the 5-second videos, which are obviously not very long. But usually faster is better, but the people on the internet are opening up more and more to watching longer stuff. But I will say, I think the reason they started watching, I mean, my stuff is now getting to like, over 20 minutes and half hour and stuff like that. But that's because I built up the audience on something that was very quick and very fast. So if you had to make a choice whether to go longer or shorter, in terms of starting out, I'd probably lean towards shorter. But there's definitely, I mean, look at Red Letter Media. I mean, their reviews last for days. And they're huge, and they're very funny, they're very entertaining, and they're very smart. So it sort of depends. If you're just asking for general advice, I would probably lean towards shorter, but that's not a written rule. You can definitely span out.
So it just simply depends on the person who wants to watch it.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's different. So would you say the same thing? Or?
Well, I do the abridged series, which tends to be shorter equals better, but I guess I started off relatively short. I did my first video in the space of a day, and it was 3 minutes and 40 seconds. And that's probably my most watched video, and there's probably a reason for that, with it being the shortest. But as long as, like Doug says, if you build up the fan base based on your smaller videos, there's no reason you can't go longer eventually once you've got the dedicated fans and everything.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Sure. Let's go with the half favor.
So you guys are mainly video based with Doug Walker, with you.
Well, I'm trying to mostly water myself.
With Doug Walker, you actually, showing yourself on video and stuff, and looking.
Yeah, I'm afraid of nothing.
with actually having videos, But what do you think about how to become popular through just through audio, through mainly like podcasts and stuff like that?
I've done a lot of interviews for podcasts and stuff like that. I'd be lying if I said I listened to a lot of them. I don't mean my interviews. I mean just in general. I know it's gone. I know I'm brilliant. But I I don't listen to a ton of podcasts. I mean, I certainly listen to Transmission Awesome Went On and such, but for me, it's not really that my thing. But radio,